What's going on, Reapers? This is Devontae. This is Reaper Churning. This is the Reaper Motivation Podcast. And you guys are now tuned in to part 2 of the Kill the King, Take the Crown episode. I know it's been a ridiculously long gap in between part 2 and part 1. The reason being is because I actually lost my notes that I had taken for part 2. And I knew I had them. I knew they were somewhere in my computer. I just could not, for the life of me, figure out where they were. I couldn't find them in my Google Documents. And if you guys are unfamiliar with the Kill the King, Take the Crown episode part 1, depending on what you're watching this on, all you have to do is go to my actual account. While you're there, definitely, if you can, give me a sub. There's a lot of good content on here. And just go ahead and kind of just listen through that one really quick. You could do it now or you could do it after. Part 2 is related, but it's also not related. This is more of a different perspective. What part 1 was basically more about yourself. Mastering others' strength. Mastering yourself is true power. That was the quote by Lao Tzu that I used in that podcast. And that was the basis of the entire episode, was just, mastering oneself, the true power between understanding who you are and developing as an individual. So now we're going into part 2, and we're going into the jungle, right? We're going into this cold, vicious world of competition, this cold, vicious world of business. You see, Reaper Training and the Reaper Motivation podcast series was originally based on me talking to people who are trying to capitalize on their ambition, who are trying to create ambition, and who are also trying to go into a mind state to where they can be true alpha male entrepreneurs. And when I look at the Reaper Motivation podcast and where it's gone, I'm kind of hitting on all cylinders, but all around, this is all to build your tolerance, your mental tolerance, and then your emotional capacity to engage with basically a bunch of wolves. When you guys get into these, and whether you want to be an entrepreneur or whether you want to be a worker for the rest of your life, at the end of the day, you're going to interact with these different levels of competition, these different levels of, enemies. And you're going to need to learn how to maneuver around these people, not only to grow your own business, but to grow in another business. It's all up to where you decide to put yourself in the spectrum. And the first point I want to hit on is competition is the key to greatness, right? So what happens is this, right? So a lot of you guys may have a job, right? And there's, at every job, regardless of where you work, there's an obvious totem pole, which is normal, it's needed. There has to be some level of supervision, delegated and going down the chain in order for a whole business to work. Every part in the machine makes it move. But you see, there's a certain aspect of this, right, that ambitious people or people with the Reaper mentality, that we see, we recognize, and we embrace it and utilize it, and that's called competition. Now, if you're an individual who is not, as motivated, who's not as ambitious, you don't care about competition because you're just trying to move along and, live life for what you think that is. You just want to be comfortable. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. As I told you guys before, if what you deem as a good life is just to pay bills and die, then that's what you deem as a good life. And there's a lot of people like that. And there's nothing wrong, but this is the Reaper Motivation podcast, and we capitalize on competition. And understand that everyone around you everyone around you that is your peer, that is above you, and is under you is competition. Point blank, period. Now, that's not for me to say that you need to tear down everybody who's in your way. That's not for me to say that you need to look at everybody as an enemy. But they are your competition. Because at any given moment, their talent can outshine you, their abilities can outshine you, and their charisma can outshine you. And a lot of people's going to look at that, and the first thing they're going to say, they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to look at everybody's competition because I'm just going to be looking at I'm not going to try to help nobody. I'm not going to try to, uplift people and all this other stuff. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys, right? You can uplift somebody a lot better from a position of power than you can as their peer. Understand what I just said. We're talking about business here. You can uplift somebody. If I was to become a supervisor at my job tomorrow, I can impute more information. I can provide more opportunities. And I can open a lot more doors for the individual under me than I can as a peer. As a peer, all I can give you is advice that you're probably not going to adhere to because I am just a peer. And even if you're an older peer, I'm going to be honest with you. If you're somebody who's been working at a job for 10 years and then somebody new comes on, you can be a mentor to an extent. But you know what that individual is going to do if he's ambitious? And what you would do if you're an ambitious individual with somebody who's a peer, who's acting as a mentor, eventually you're going to look around, you're going to say, you're a great mentor as a peer. But whatever you have has not translated because you're still here where I am. How do I take that next step to get above? And then you start looking around. You start looking at your superiors around you and say, what are their qualities that they possess to bring them to that position? And am I willing to go to those lengths to become them? Or do my qualities in and of itself, do I think they give me a feasible chance to get into their position of power? That's a question that you're going to have to ask yourself. You're going to have to really sit back and think and look around, right? And again, we're talking from an ambitious standpoint. So what's going to happen is you're going to look and you're going to say, all right, I need to start finding mentors in higher places. And at that point in time, when they choose to find a mentor in a higher position, if they just choose to study that person in a higher position, they're going to gain a lot more knowledge to become, in a competitive standpoint, to become successful than they did from that mentor, even though that mentor did play a key role. So understand, competition is everywhere. Now, if you guys know me, I talk a lot about, black pride and black upliftment and things like that. Like I said, this is not to say that everyone is your enemy. It's not. By no means at all. You don't need to tear others down to be successful. However, if you becoming more intelligent, if you building connections, if you, just being a better you, just so happens to trample over other people, survival of the fittest. If anything, you're still sharpened still. Those other black people around you, while you're going to school, while you're getting new certifications, new licenses, while you're building more connections with better people, they're gonna look at that, and if they're ambitious, guess what? They're gonna be like, they're gonna look at you as a mentor all of a sudden, because now you're moving up the totem pole, and then that competition starts to get bred. So now you need to watch them. You need to stay on your P's and Q's because they're coming, and they need to stay on theirs. And all of a sudden now you're looking around, and if you're at a company and you don't own it, all of a sudden there's more black people coming up. We all scratching and clawing. We sitting there, we're sharpening each other. We're on our toes. More black faces in higher positions. Or if that's your business, more black faces in higher positions. Except your business is now becoming stronger with more black faces because they all need to try to strive to be you. and you want them to strive to beat you. There was a show, and it's gonna bug me all night now that I'm thinking about it. And basically with the show, I think it was Wolf on Wall Street. Yeah, it was Wolf on Wall Street. I remember Jordan Belfort has said he wants all his employees to want to live like him. He said he wants everybody that works for him to want to live like him. You know why? Because when you sell them that dream, it makes them sharper. And it makes him sharper because he doesn't want to give up his position. Steel sharpens steel. Again, I'm bringing you guys into the jungle. It gets vicious over here. It gets cold. It's rough. If you want to stay on the bottom of that totem pole, if you're not willing to look at life as a competition, to better those around you by bettering yourself, then this is the wrong. I really don't even know what you're on this for, to be blunt. And now going into the next point is this inevitably will create enemies. You will create enemies by simply trying to better yourself. Like I said, you're not purposely trying to step on nobody's toes. What I don't want you guys to do is to think that still sharpening steel, or you looking at everybody's competition, means that you're going to backdoor everybody around you and suck the most dick. Be a brown nose to the best of your ability. That's not what I'm talking about. If you notice, I never said, I did mention building connections, but that was an afterthought. What I harped on was knowledge, was experience. Those are the things that's going to make you better. However, gaining that knowledge, gaining that experience, putting yourself in those positions, you're going to gain enemies. And I talk about all the time. I just live my life to the best of my abilities, and I just try to move forward. And I have a lot of enemies for really no reason that I could think of. I don't interact with people enough to really be enemies with them. I don't like talking to people like that. So, but that's a part of the game. I've accepted that part of the game. I accepted that part of the jungle. And this isn't just going to come from white people. It's not just going to come from black people. It's going to come from everybody, because we all want to eat. Understand this. When you're involved in a business, whether that is your business or another business, there's money involved. Money is the root of all evil. When money is involved, shit will get grimy. That's just a part of life. When money is involved, people will be fake. People will steal. People will lie. It will get very, very nitty gritty. And I guarantee you, anybody who works at a job, you've seen it. As just a part of it. You need to be ruthless. You need to be a ruthless man with a code. And when I say a ruthless man with a code, your code is, your main goal is to better yourself. Your main goal is to attain knowledge, to attain experience, and to attain connections. But if need be, if a motherfucker think he's just gonna come over and slit your throat from behind and stab you on your back, well, that brother just came into the wrong side of the jungle. You're willing to rip out the jugular of anybody who comes in your way. Ruthless. You see, the reason being is because a lot of you guys have been told we can all eat. And even if people are trying to hurt you, you kill them with kindness. You kill them with love. No. Like I said, we're dealing with money here. This is where things are changed. So when I say be ruthless, what I'm saying is, when enemies come around, I would highly, highly suggest that everybody read the book, The 48 Laws of Power. Because that's one of the best ways you're going to learn how to do away with motherfuckers who are trying to back end you. See, it's not enough always to just know more than another person. It's not enough always to just have more experience than another person. It's not even enough always to have more connections than another person, because they could always know something more about an aspect of your job that you don't. They can always gain experience somewhere that you haven't. They can always know somebody who's just a little bit more important than your connections. But the way to stop this, the way to usurp this, very simple. When problems arise, you protect your reputation, and you protect your skill set. Meaning that the number one way that people lose their position in this game of this competition of money is their reputations are hurt and their connections are lost. You need to make sure both are very, very strong. Again, that does not mean to start kissing some ass. Look, if you're thinking right now that you're going to go to work tomorrow and buy all the boss's donuts, that's not what the fuck is going to help. That's just keeping those who are important close to you. And that is also gaining more knowledge and keeping your reputation clean. Because when that reputation is sullied, it's hard to get it back. And this same thing goes for if you were running your own business. I'm a podcast. Now, I support everyone else. Well, I don't know any of my friends that do a podcast. I know I have a few friends that have YouTubes. But I support everybody to the fullest, 100%. Especially if you black. But guess what? We're in competition. Point blank period. We are in competition. I'm not going to try to tear you down. I would hope that they wouldn't tear me down. But at the same time, I'm watching. I'm looking to get the edge. It keeps me on my toes. I know I'm bullshitting if I haven't dropped a video all week and say one of my friends dropped 2-3 videos. I know it's time for me to get busy. I'm prepared. I'm ready. That's that competition. And when I talk about playing the game and I talk about utilizing competition, understand that ass kissers are just they're playing the game also, but just from a passive state. You see, it's hard to be aggressive in a competitive atmosphere. Like I said, it's a jungle out there. Not everybody has the stomach. Not everybody has the heart and the courage and the confidence. That's why I harp it all the time. Confidence, confidence, confidence. Go out there, try things and fail so you can build that confidence in yourself. Because when you get into that jungle, you need to be confident that you can bounce back from whatever. I put it like this. I'm willing to go at anybody on this earth. I'm ready to rip out jugglers for any of my enemies. And the reason being is because I know that if I fall, I can stand back up because I've done it before. That's where that confidence comes from. You don't mind being perceived as overly confident. You don't mind competition, and you don't mind failure because you've known that you've been there before. You've gotten back up. I tell you guys all the time, I come from a humble background. I know what it's like to sleep on a hardwood floor, to wake up in the middle of the night and see bed bug bites from your legs all the way up to your neck. I know what it's like to sleep on the floor for 3-4 years. I know what it's like to live in a homeless shelter. I know what it's like to sit there, work 60 hours, 70 hours, 75 hours in 1 week and still not have enough money to feed yourself. Had to grind and tough it out. And you know what? I'm still here. And whatever you've been through in your life, you're still here. So you've grinded it out. You've learned how to capitalize on your hardships. And that's where that confidence comes from. There's nothing that could break me. 100%. I say it all the time. And the reason why I say it, because even if that comes to me, even if I invite that challenge into my life, guess what? I know for a fact that when I come back from whatever that hardship is, I'm going to be an animal. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I look at myself and I feel like I'm an animal right now because I've been through so much. If anything else happens to me, man, when I come back, good God, who's going to stop me? And then sometimes I feel unmotivated. Just sometimes, we're human. We go through our days. If I was to come back from something else, good God, I could only imagine those 6 months after when I come back, I'm going to be a whole nother breed of I don't even know. It gets me excited. See, this is where I talk about picking yourself up. It gets you excited for the next challenge that comes in your life because good God Almighty, I know how I'm gonna be when this is over with. I know where I'm gonna go. I know where my heart's gonna be at. I know how vicious I'm about to be. And then you just get ready to reap the benefits. When I was going through 2 years ago when I was broke, I was pounding that pavement. I'm talking, like I said, 70 hours a week. It's time to get busy. And I look back and I look at where I'm at right now, and I'm reaping some of those benefits at the moment. And that's why I've kind of gotten a little lazy. But this is where that confidence is built. But you see, you can never do that in a passive state. And if you kissing ass, you're trying to avoid the hardships. You're trying to avoid the self-improvement. You're just trying to suck enough dick that where somebody just throws you a bone and you get to climb up that ladder. But guess what? That competition never leaves. It never leaves. And you have competition from other ass kissers. And competitions from those who are actually playing the competition, who are trying to breed themselves for greatness. So you'll never keep that position. You can be as cutthroat as you want to be, but you don't like that. You don't like the aggressive nature of the jungle and what it puts you in. So you will always be in that passive state. And if you know anything, if you guys notice anything about ass kissers, the boss treats the ass kisser the worst than anybody. Because he knows they'll do anything in their power just to kiss their ass to make them feel good about themselves. Because they don't have anything else to bring to the table. Every ass kisser I know knows the least of everybody. Because you know what? If you had that knowledge, you wouldn't need to be an ass kisser. They're easily discardable. So what ends up happening is that they stay on the hamster wheel. We don't play anything from a passive state. If you guys haven't realized, I call this reaper motivation. We're alpha males. Passive is not in our nature. It's just how we're looking at it. It's just not. There's no way that I can ever claim to be a passive individual. Kind of grosses me out thinking about it. But the last point I want to touch on before I get on out of here is, out of all this stuff I told you, I kind of fed you guys a lot of rah-rah. A whole lot of, this is a jungle, enemies, competition. It is what it is. I don't want you guys creating any unneeded enemies. Understand this. They will come regardless. You will have enemies regardless. They're just going to come up just because you are who you are. We don't make unneeded ones. So again, don't step on any toes. Do not stab anybody in their back. Be aggressive. Be yourself. Create connections. But we're not running around with the intent of destroying others. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of people, right? And I'm going to use myself as an example. Because, that's the easiest way to go. I'm going to use myself as an example. At my job right now, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of backdoor things to me, right? Since I've been at this job. Now, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, I want to be an entrepreneur one day. So in the long run, as long as I'm getting my experience and my knowledge, I don't give a fuck what they do. I'm not trying to climb that totem pole with them. They just assume because I'm better than myself than I am, but I'm not climbing that totem pole with them. I don't want to work at a shipyard for 30, 40 years. That's not what I want to do with my life. However, if you had a motherfucker like me, who's as aggressive as I am, and as confident as I am, but I did want to go up that totem pole, and you stab me in my back, oh good God, you better pray. You better pray to whoever you do that I don't ever become ahead of you. You better pray for it. Don't ever let me get to that point. Because again, this is a ruthless game. I already understand the jungle. And this is my warning to you guys. Listen, do not, like I said, read that book. Go ahead, go get the 48 Laws of Power, because it's going one of their chapters in that book is know who is the wolf in sheep's clothing. Do not go around stabbing people in their back, stepping on toes, thinking there's no consequences behind that, because you may just fuck with the wrong one. And when you got a brother who's the right amount of ruthless and the right amount of intelligent, good God Almighty, Not saying that it's impossible to get by, but look, it's gonna be a fight. Be careful out there, man. This is, again, we're moving in a competitive this is chess. This isn't checkers. You don't cut nobody's throat unless it's warranted. And I know a lot of this is starting to sound like Game of Thrones, but let me tell you something. Game of Thrones, 40 Laws of Power, all these things are just different facets of what it is in business, of what it is for competition, what it is in the jungle. Y'all hear me? If you guys ever listen to, the Reaper Motivation YouTube channel, you guys hear me talk a lot about when I go into fitness. I bring everything back into a primal state. I relate it back to a primal state. Everything we do in life will always revert back to a primal state in some way, shape, or form. It's inevitable. So understand who it is around you that is dangerous. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to get into it on here, but a few of those people that went to stab me in my back, again, I'm not trying to go up that totem pole, but you ruffle the feathers the wrong motherfucker, they make things happen. Whether it be directly or indirectly. And I've, as Drake said, I take the knife out my back and I cut their throat with it. I did it a couple times. There's a couple people in some bad positions because they fucked with the wrong person. So, like I said, guys, this is not for everybody. When you got into this channel, when you started hearing me talk about my motivation and being a better person, there's a lot of ugly aspects to it, but this is what we are. This is what it is. So, we don't chase dreams, we hunt goals. Again, I apologize for such the long gap in between these. I need to start uploading these a lot more often. There's gonna be more of a repetitive posting method to this. I'm working on a whole new list of podcast topics as we speak. I'll catch you guys next time. I appreciate you guys watching, enjoying the content. Like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on the Spotify, definitely make sure you pin this to know when we got more content coming. Same for any of the other platforms. I'll catch you next time.